Infirmary Media.
If you love music and you love comedy, you love Weird Al Yankovic.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic.
That's just science. And if you've ever seen Weird Al play live, you know he puts on an incredible show. Al just wrapped up his ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour,
where for the first time he played his original songs.
Classics like Dare to Be Stupid,
Dare to Be Stupid,
Jackson Park Express,
it all happened on the Jackson Park Express,
Buy Me a Condo,
I'm gonna buy me a condo,
and plenty more.
There were 77 performances on this tour.
And every show is unique, with a different set list, professionally mixed and mastered.
And includes Al's impromptu stage banter. Listen to Weird Al Yankovic's ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour, now on Stitcher Premium.
For a free month of Stitcher Premium, go to StitcherPremium.com/Weird Al.
That's StitcherPremium.com/Weird Al.
And use promo code CULTURE.
1, 2, 3, 4. Poop culture, yeah, poop culture, yeah, whoa. Poop culture, yeah, poop culture, yeah, whoa. Poop culture, it's culture shock. Listen in and it'll make the world rock. Laugh and cry and cringe and buzz with a Mancrush. Poop culture, yeah, whoa. Poop culture, yeah, poop.
Welcome back into the stalls, fellow poopers, for another swirl around the bowl with the Poop Culture Podcast. I am Marc James, and along with us are the rest of the gang of grunge, the founder of Flush himself, Rick Mancrush, and the man born bald and bearded but badass nonetheless, it's Beau Becraft. And gentlemen, our honorary fourth horseman of the Pooppocalypse this week is writer, director, and producer of the most comprehensive feature-length documentary on 80s action movies ever, the explosive upcoming film In Search of the Last Action Heroes. Please welcome Oliver Harper to the show. Oliver, welcome to the show, man.
Hello, everyone. How you doing, chaps?
Hey, first off, I must say thank you for coming on, because I know it's a 5-hour difference. You're in, were you in England? I'm guessing.
Yep, I'm in Cambridge. It's 1 a.m.
Excellent.
I'm rarely ever up this late. Usually when I was in my 20s, but now I'm in my mid 30s now. So,
you're still a baby.
Young. That's still young. That's still young.
Still a young pup.
I'm usually falling asleep by 11:30. So yeah. I've got a can of Red Bull, as I said to the other guys earlier before recording. I am awake now.
Good. He's awake and raring to go. And dude, before we even get into the movie stuff, you have a pretty large following on YouTube. I believe it's somewhere around 100,000 subscribers. You do a bunch of video retrospectives on that.
Yes, I passed 100,000 subscribers just yesterday.
Congratulations!
Wow.
Thank you very much. It's been a bit of a slow burn for me. I've been doing this since late 2011. The retrospective reviews are, just reviews on movies from the 80s and 90s, which, discuss like how the films are made, talk about the visual effects, the soundtracks, if there's video games released for them, and provide my overall critique and open and end each review with a trailer I make for them as well. So yeah, I've been doing that for a long time, and now it's kind of got to the point of sort of moving on and trying to do something bigger, with my career.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing too, because you have this Kickstarter, and like Marc was just saying, you have In Search of the Last Action Heroes. It's on Kickstarter. You guys only started that on June 1st, and you've already surpassed your goal.
Yeah, it's been crazy. These things you cannot predict. You just don't know how it's going to go. And my only concern was, were the people that want to invest, would they be interested in me telling this story? And judging by, my reviews on 80s action movies and early 90s ones as well, the views are pretty high. So I was confident that it would work, and it has. So I'm really, really surprised and happy that it's worked out this well. And it's the first time I've ever done this, so it's always nerve-wracking.
What are you at? You're almost double now, right?
Yeah, right now they're actually at $33,563 of their $19,000 goal.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely crazy.
Now you guys can get cocaine and strippers for the whole thing. You can really do it up 80s style when you're making this. Get really in depth.
We are going to take the Menachem Golem and Yoram Golem.
Oh, yeah. Canon films, mate.
We have to take their
He's going to do
approach.
17 documentaries.
No. All of the money goes into the movie. No extras. You're not paying craft services. No cocaine. No watermelons for Yoram. That's where we're going. All the money goes into the pictures. Right, guys?
Exactly.
I mean, that's fucking phenomenal, though. We've had other people on before. I think we've had like 3 or 4 people in the past that have tried to do Kickstarters. They've actually done them, and they made their goals for the people we had on, but I know it was trying for them, and it took months. And some of them even started with like Indiegogos first, just to raise some money, and then they switched over into the Kickstarter. But yours is, dude, 30 days in making it. That just means this is getting made, and this is what people want to see.
Yes, we're already rolling into pre-production now. So we've got a great producer on called Timon Singh, who's he's a big film buff and just wrote a book recently about the villains of action movies. And thanks to him, he's lined up many interviews with actors, writers, directors. And I was floored the other week when Richard Donner said he'll be happily get involved with it. And I was like, oh my God, because I'm like the biggest fan of Superman the movie. And when I do meet him, I'm going to have to hold back my fanboyism from not talking about Superman. It has to be, no, this is Lethal Weapon, not Superman. But yeah, that is, it's like a childhood dream, meeting someone like that. It's like some people like meeting Spielberg, because I never got to meet, Christopher Reeve because he died years ago. But
Right.
It's meeting Richard Donner, he's a legend.
It's amazing. The names you have attached to this from the 80s and 90s are already crazy. You got Richard Donner, like you just said, Cynthia Rothrock, you said.
Yeah.
Eric Roberts, Al Leong, Bill Duke, which I love, William Sadler,
Bill Duke, yeah.
Scott Adkins, I saw.
We've got more names that are going to be released soon, so some more surprises. So yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, one of the names I was really excited to see on there was Phillip Rhee from the Best of the Best series.
Yeah, I know.
Love that series. He was great in those, man.
Fantastic martial artist.
Oh yeah.
And you guys got Michael J. White too, which I love. That dude's an awesome martial artist. Really underrated.
He's got great charisma, and like again, like Philip, he's an amazing martial artist. So, even though he's in like, Universal Soldier, The Return, which is such a it's a bad film, it's guilty pleasure, but he's brilliant in it. He just hams it up,
Now, are there anybody that you didn't think you'd get that now you're kind of talking to that you might get? Are there any names you could drop at all that you're in talks with? Or
well,
get people excited, man. Let's get you another $10,000.
Well, we've got Mario Casar involved, who produced Terminator 2, Rambo films, Cliffhanger from Carolco, or Carolco, depending on how you like to pronounce it. So it's getting someone like Mario, or for example, Stephen E. D'Souza, who wrote The Running Man, Die Hard, Commando, Street Fighter the movie, one of my guilty pleasures. Getting someone like that, it gives you a window for them to talk about loads of movies. Not just if you find one actor who's amazing, but maybe attached to maybe 1 or 2 films from that decade. But if you get one person who's got access or knows everything about 5 or 6 films, and it's a goldmine of information.
Of course.
We've got the director of Rambo 3, Peter McDonald, who was obviously a second unit director, one of the best in the business, because he worked on Batman, he worked on Superman, he worked on Guardians of the Galaxy. This guy is a legend with second unit work. So having him is just amazing, because going straight for actors and directors is great, but when you've got people that have been on so many films, just like not directing things, but more slightly behind the scenes, they can come up with some great stories.
Of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you talked to any of these guys yet? I know you said you're in pre-production now, but have you sat down and had any conversations with any of these people?
Not me personally. The producers kind of as a time, and he's kind of lined up these things and communicated with people either via phone call or email. But once once the Kickstarter's finished and the funding's been raised, then we'll start arranging the dates to sort of fit in the actors and directors and writers, etc. So we don't have to travel all over the place. So it makes it easier to sort of slot people
Right.
in at when they're with their availability, because a lot of people, are still working quite a lot. So you have to sort of fit around their time,
For sure. And before we get into anything, we know what it's all about. We're big fans of the genre and everything else. Tell everybody else what it is that you guys are going to be doing.
So essentially the synopsis of this documentary would be charting the rise of the 80s action hero. So I try and pinpoint when that genre kind of started. It may be obvious to some people that may think, it may have started around, First Blood with Rambo. But it's kind of capturing what made those movies so special from the 80s. Why are we still going back to them? Why are we still being influenced by them? But also seeing that evolution of those movies through the 80s and into the 90s. Because when you come to the 90s, you get the budgets get bigger.
Yep.
The actors' egos get out of control.
The movies got
it's things like Tango and Cash with this kind of crazy production. It's just all these egos battling each other and just try and make this movie work. Then you got that kind of, the rise through the 80s into the 90s, and then things started to go downhill. All these stars, Arnold started to slow down. He started changing his focus into politics, but also you've got Van Damme. He's kind of, I think his last kind of big hit, and he saw this direction change to other studios, then suddenly go direct to DVD. And Stallone had kind of had this massive slump as well, but then Hollywood looked to the east. They looked for Jackie Chan and Jet Li and brought them over into the lead. But us action fans, we probably all grew up on Jackie Chan from far earlier. We started doing Rumble in the Bronx and Rush Hour. So we were so familiar with his work, but to Hollywood, he seemed new, despite the point where he was starting to slow down at that point. He wasn't doing as crazy stuff as he used to do.
The nice thing about those films is when he did come to America and did Rush Hour and those other films, it introduced him to a whole new audience.
He did.
Like myself at that point, then I went back and I discovered Young Master and Drunken Master and First Strike, and those are the movies that I really fell in love with.
But yeah, so, after Jackie Chan had sort of run its course in sort of Hollywood cinema, then you had things like The Expendables, that came along, and to try to capture some of the 80s action films, which I thought was a great concept, but didn't quite deliver. You had 80s action was R-rated action. It wasn't kind of PG-13.
Right.
So that's that kind of that sort of narrative there to that story, seeing those changes in those decades, but also going back to the 80s and early 90s, where you had films being marketed to kids via toys and video games.
Yep.
So you had, that was obviously an issue for parents at the time, having toys of Rambo and Robocop and the Terminator, and having video games on, your Nintendo or Commodore 64 or something of Robocop.
Yeah.
And back, so was that as well for programmers a problem? We're making a game based on in the UK an 18 rated movie. Would that be questionable? To sort of do that?
Oh yeah.
So there's many different aspects within this documentary that will be explored to capture just to capture that nostalgia, but also discover some great stories along the way.
Yeah, and I think it's needed because, like you said, it did kind of come around full circle, but not all the way. Those types of movies are pretty much done. With social media and the news being what it is, do you believe there is ever going to be like a triumphant return to glory for these movies?
Well, we've got John Wick. John Wick is a
that's true.
Very good series, which with incredible action. Keanu Reeves really sells it. But these movies are done with relatively small budgets. They're not huge risks to the studio. And Atomic Blonde as well, that came out recently, which I thought was an okay film. The story was a bit meh, but the action was brilliant.
Then you have whatever tri-monthly Rock action vessel is in, whatever movie The Rock's in.
Yeah, those are too geared to children, though. They
kind of are.
Yes. They don't go over
but
the
that
top
goes
of
back
it.
to what he was saying, like that stuff that they can turn into video games and toys, and now they're kind of making his movies with that in mind.
But it's so different from back then because, like you were just mentioning it before. You were mentioning about the toys. Rambo had a friggin' kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
If you watch the two, it's like, you can do that today. There's no way in hell that you can get away with having that cartoon, in early Saturday mornings. Actually, they don't even have that anymore. Now it's just on like a Cartoon Network or whatever the hell it is.
The problem is there's no 18 rated or R rated like action movie now for them to capitalize on that.
Yeah, but you know what? There's still a huge market for this. Just look at how fast you did this Kickstarter in 30 days. That just means that there's people out there that want to hear about the golden ages, our glory days of movies. We don't even get it anymore. Now we're just getting these PG-13 garbage movies thrown at us.
Oh, we absolutely know that there's a market for it, because look at the success of action movies like Deadpool and Logan that were R-rated. So I think it's time for the rise of the action star once again.
Yeah, people want to see these films. I think studios seem to forget that adults go to the cinema.
Exactly. That's right.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you look back at Total Recall when that came out? It's at 1990. Huge budget, huge marketing campaign. That is an adult film. It's gory. And thinking about that now, that wouldn't happen. You wouldn't see like a $200 million Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that's full on R-rated. It's just like, that's what I want to go back to. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's amazing because back then, we watched these movies as kids. We rode bikes without our helmets on. We drove in the front seat,
Yeah.
Do you think that because this is my personal opinion on this, I think it's kind of like the decline of an era, because these kids these days, they're a little light in the shoes, man. Like they're like babies about everything. They're too sensitive about this stuff.
I'm surprised I can still eat peanut butter cups in the theaters because of goddamn kids with nut allergies.
Yeah. We never had that,
No.
I think people often get offended too easily and take it to heart. I think studios are just afraid to play it completely safe. So it's a different time now, but things will change, I think. But it's I don't know. Yeah.
You're in the UK though. That's a good question. Like, we see it here in America all the time. I have a daughter that's 12, so I see kids all the time, and I see how it is when I was 12 compared to 12-year-olds now, and it's so different. Is it like that in the UK now as well?
Oh, of course. Yeah. All kids are just glued to their phones and tablets, and that's all they do. Amazing. Years ago, as you were saying earlier on, sort of like, riding your bike without a helmet. As a kid, we're always just like going off on missions still on our bike somewhere, and playing army or whatever. But now kids don't really go outside that much. They're always just inside on their phones and video games. I mean, I did the same as well.
Yeah, but you're old now.
I know. As a teenager and kid, I sat there in the summer, just playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I should have been outside and getting some sun, but
Well, shit. Nowadays, if a kid's playing a video game, it's almost like they're getting they're doing something active, because all they're doing is staring at their phones half the time. Like, my daughter is always on her phone, like staring at it, like it's in her face. I'd be happy. Well, actually, she's getting into activities now, but I'd be happy if she played like some kind of video game where she was bouncing around, like, I don't know, like Dance Dance
At
Revolution.
least when my son's playing video games, he's standing in front of the TV, jumping up and down while he's playing. So it's a full cardio experience.
But seriously, like back in the 80s and 90s, I think they blamed a lot on these movies, especially here in America. Like, we had Jeffrey Dahmer, and they blamed, they said that it was movies that took him where it did. That said, they don't even make those types of movies anymore, and people are still fucked up. So it's like, I think the emphasis and the blame really got put on the wrong thing, and it should be lifted, in my opinion. And they should bring those movies back, and maybe, having a documentary like yours and really getting back to it, some people could look at it and be like, man, that really didn't fuck me up at all. It was just good fun.
It's funny though, when you look at the movies and the video games that were criticized for affecting children in some way and turning them into crazed killers or whatever. It was just ridiculous. If you look at it now, like Mortal Kombat, we went through that whole scenario in court where they're not in court. And it wasn't it was more about, trying to provide ratings for video games, but these games didn't affect children. They weren't going to start, pulling people's hearts out, whatever, or uppercutting them, and saying toasty. But it was, it was, nowadays, I think there is less of an outcry about particular films.
Yeah.
I think well, people are actually far more used to extreme violence. I don't think they should be really, but it's
Right.
because as a kid, we all had that journey or discovery of seeing something like Robocop for the first time when you weren't supposed to.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you're 8 years old, and you see that moment of Peter Weller, Alex Murphy getting destroyed at the beginning, and I was traumatized when I saw that. But kids can just find it straight away, you know, without having to go around a friend's house or trying to watch it, you know, sneakily without your parents knowing. You know,
Yep.
it's those little journeys I don't think they have anymore. And you know, maybe wise I don't, but I don't think I'd probably show my child Robocop at such a young age. But
No, but that's half the fun when you're
it
that
is
age.
half the fun.
Because
Yeah,
when you're that age, it's so easy to suspend disbelief for just a few minutes.
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
an adult, you have a harder time getting into it.
How many throats did you try to rip out after you watched Roadhouse?
Only 3.
Yeah.
Only 3.
That's good. It's under 10. That's acceptable.
Right. If it's under 10, you're fine.
But I think the entire project you got going on is great, and we do this thing on the show called Dueling Decades, and I think that's how we met you guys through Instagram, and
Sure.
we love the 80s and 90s, and I think a lot of that stuff needs to come back, and your documentary is a good welcome wagon for those people that are forgotten about it and don't really get into it that much. So my other question to you about the documentary itself is like, what kind of distribution are you guys going to do for this? Is it going to be all online? Like people going to get actual physical copies of this? You know, what's the story on that?
Yeah, there will be digital copies and there will be physical copies on DVD and Blu-ray. There's 3 available copies. I think there may be 2 now left of a VHS copy of the
Ooh.
documentary with a VHS style
Wow.
cover. Which looks it's going to be awesome. So it's only going to be, it's not going to be a YouTube thing. Some people were a little bit, just questioning it, thinking, oh, this is going to be on YouTube, Oliver. I'm like, no. So it's going to be a physical thing and digital download, which you can also purchase. But yeah, it's kind of a separate thing because I'd done before doing this to sort of how this has all kind of evolved was, late last year, I did a documentary on Superman 4 and its shooting locations. It was called The Man of Steel and Glass. So they shot Superman 4 in the UK, and a town called Milton Keynes was used as Metropolis. So if you go watch Superman 4, it's all done in the UK
Wow.
by Canon Films on a
Yes.
tiny budget. So that really that was original content. It wasn't just reviewing a movie. I went, I had a great director, Tim Partridge, to help me. And that was how I met Robin Block, he had been following my work for a while, but he saw an opportunity to say, look, you can do something bigger now with this. So that's all stemmed from that. So I'm still going to do YouTube, over the,
Right.
I'm not stopping it. It's just like the next step is sort of trying to do something beyond YouTube, because YouTube
Sure.
had its limitations, you know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone gets burnt out. You got to satisfy the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. And you're always chasing views, you're chasing uploads. It's just like, you're just one person doing that. It just, it destroys your energy and makes you tired. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's refreshing to do something else.
No, that's cool though. But along with this, there are risks involved in doing a film like this. When we had, like I mentioned before, we had a few documentarians that came on the show. They always had to deal with some kind of drama from one person or another that they were interviewing, or like rights to show things on a documentary. And so you've done this before with the Superman 4 thing. What are some of the hurdles that you're thinking about that you might have to cross that you're not really looking forward to?
Well, yeah, hurdles really would be, if a celebrity, a talent decides to back out at the last minute, there's just, schedules of trying to meet them, things don't align. Obviously you're dealing with a documentary, that deals with multiple films. So you have copyright issues, so you have to tackle them in the right way. So it's covered under fair use, or in Europe, it's called fair dealings. So you just have to make sure that the clips you use aren't extensive.
Right.
And you can get around these things by basically getting the talents involved who've agreed to be interviewed to provide you with their own photos or, own home movies of the productions they're on, because then it's their property. So it does help with that. So, but I will be, consulting with the right people before the final edit to say, is this fair use? Is this going to be okay? Because you don't want to put it out, then suddenly a studio goes, no way, you can't put that out. So,
right. So you're going to have some footage that people have never seen before then. Fingers
crossed. Yeah, that is the goal. Because, there's so many DVD special features on specific movies.
Right.
I don't want to recycle the same documentary you've seen before with that footage. Like, everyone's used stuff from the Robocop docs. You've seen the same behind the scenes stuff. So you're going to want to find something that's kind of different and to make it unique and stand on its own. So because I've done retrospectives for so long, I know what I need and what I want to see. Because if I think the documentary is not going to work, then I know in my mind, then it won't work for everyone else. If I'm happy with it, this is what I want to see, I know everyone else should be happy.
Right.
So I'm tough to please. Yeah. So I'm very hard on myself quite a lot. So I always try to deliver the best I can.
So in order to capture all this content and do all these interviews and things like that, how much travel are you going to have to do, and how far will you have to go to get some of this stuff?
Well, yeah, obviously, I will have to visit the United States to get a number of the interviews. We're going to interview authors and critics as well, UK-based ones who, I highly respect and have a good opinion on the genre. And there's other directors and stuff who are based in Europe. We may do, sort of, instead of flying out there, we can hire cameramen to interview these people, so it just saves on travel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It really comes down to the point where when these people are free, and if the last chunk of them are going to be in, say, LA, then we can say, right, that's where we're going. So it may be best to sort of we may be traveling to each person because they can't be somewhere else on a specific day, but you may just rent a studio and they come and meet us there. It's you've got to try and think of it like what's going to be the easiest route to travel,
The logistics of it is probably like one of the biggest hurdles. We had last year, Andrew Leavold was on. He did The Search for Wang Wang. I don't know if you're familiar with that. His documentary about, do you know who Wang Wang is?
No, I don't know.
Wang Wang was this Filipino action star that was 3 foot 8 inches tall. You've probably seen pictures of him before. Yes. Well, Andrew, this guy knows everything about film. It is insane how much this guy knows. He came on the show, and the whole story about Wang Wang is crazy. If you haven't seen that documentary, go check that out. It's called The Search for Wang Wang. And in one of the portions of it, Wang Wang had what was called, they're almost like handlers. They were almost like his adopted family. It was almost like he got sold to them. And the one lady who was like his mother, so to speak, wouldn't go in this documentary. And he set up with her. He called her again and again and again, and she wouldn't come on film. And then one day he gets her on the phone and she says, okay. And now Andrew's from Australia. So he flies to California to go meet with this lady. And now she's not answering her phone. And she's like, no, I'm not meeting with you. She's just not answering. And he's leaving her message after message after message. And he ended up staying there for an entire week. At one point, even like camped outside of her house and everything, and nothing.
My God.
Yeah, it's a really crazy story, and he's hoping that one day maybe he'll get to speak with her. But I mean, it's like stuff like that you just you don't know. You don't know if somebody's just going to shut you out.
So thankfully, I've got a good team involved, and Robin Block, he's produced many documentaries before, so it's good to, when you tackle these things, when you're kind of new to them, it's always good to have people on your side who have a lot of experience, because it just makes the whole process easier. You can take a bit of pressure off your shoulders and let someone else tackle it and go, this is what you need to do. So he's been very beneficial for the whole thing. And as I say, getting Time and Sing on board very early on to get all these amazing talents involved has just been, it's opened my eyes up to how, it's always good to collaborate with people, you've never worked with before who have a lot of unique skills.
Right. No, for sure. And now it seems like Robin just comes on your interviews and just like kind of watches from and stalks the whole thing, because he's here. Robin's here, and he's just kind of he took there. Oh, here we go. Robin Block, everybody.
Okay, so okay, hi. Right. The story is basically during this Kickstarter phase, the 30-day campaign, Ollie has just knocked it out of the park. So YouTube and Ollie's audience and that channel has been one of the most significant drivers for backers for this project. So we've just been on this journey to create as much relevant content. So typically, Ollie will do, a retrospective. Normally, they're anything from sort of 17 to 40 minutes long. Some of his retrospectives are really detailed retrospectives. They're high quality work, which is why, as a creator, YouTube isn't always the best platform because it's geared to hits and clicks. So normally he does about one and a half of those a month. In the last 30 days, and we're only in this 30-day campaign, Ollie will have done 2 retrospectives, 3 top 10 videos, a series review, and a load of other content as well. So he's absolutely sort of smashed it. And so I've been leading on the press and the engagement. And what I said to him is, look, mate, I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We're ever so grateful that you're having us on the show. And look, no worries, I'll be up there. I'll be up as well with you. Because when you're working with creators, energy is finite.
Yeah.
And so it's, you've got to manage that quite well. And so what's been really great is the videos that we've been putting out that have talked about the Kickstarter have been about subjects relevant to the Kickstarter as well. So the first retrospective that came out was Karate Kid 2. We've got one coming up on the 30th anniversary of Die Hard, which is the 12th of July. That's the next one. The top 10 videos we've had was the top 10 most iconic action movie scenes from like 80s action movies. We've had the top 10 best action movie game tie-ins. We've had the top 10 best action movie heroines. So all of that work has publicized the Kickstarter. It's kept Oliver's audience engaged. And the other side to that as well is the other YouTubers that we've been collaborating with. And that's really driven quite a lot of the engagement that's happened. So the reason I'm on this call now is to support Ollie, because he's been knocking it out of the park. It's just been an amazing amount of work, and he's totally delivered.
Sure he doesn't fall asleep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give him a push in a minute in case he has fallen asleep.
I'm still here.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So
and don't knock your trailer is awesome too for the documentary.
Yeah, that was we had kind of different choice of locations, and we thought because finding like a DVD kind of rental shop we thought would be impossible, because Blockbuster, was all gone,
right?
And there may be 1 or 2 in the United States still surviving. But in the UK, I found out there's over 300 still around.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we went, we found a place in London. The owner was, really, really nice, and we were allowed to shoot in there. And it was, something I was going to tackle with the edit, but Robin, we said, look, let's get someone else to sort of have a different view on it. And the editor, smashed out of the park and created this really kind of, sells you the idea in a short space of time, and done with some nice editing as well. So it's gets you pumped, as it were, for 80s action.
If you don't want to listen to that, because there's people that have short attention spans, and that's part of the problem these days, especially with YouTube and everything else. So if you're just, if you skipped the interview and you want to get to the rest of the episode, stop right here, go over to his YouTube channel and watch that trailer. And if there's anything that we can do to help you guys out, it sounds like an awesome project. Poop Culture would be behind this. That's why we had to get you guys on here.
Well, that's great to hear.
What would be great is to do another interview once we've shot everything, and so we'll have some great stories. And in fact, as we go through this production, there's a story we're trying to tell about, you know, the rise and fall of the 80s action film genre, but there's a parallel story which is about the making of this film. You know, when you're trying to get a Kickstarter campaign, when you're crowdfunding to make an idea happen, you're at war. You know, we're at war at the moment. You know, we're to win the war means we've made the film. And so, you know, the stories and the experiences and the things that we're going to uncover from doing this, we want the backers and we want the people that are following this to involve themselves in the story of making it, as well as actually being able to enjoy the story we want to tell once we've put it all together. I don't know how you guys started your show, but I assume it was a passion project.
Yeah.
You know, and you've had to be disciplined. You've had to work really hard to build your audience. Your audience is really significant. You can't, you know, for us to be invited for Ollie to be invited onto this show, you know, that's a great honor for us. Because none of these things happen unless you put so much work in. And it's the same thing with this project, you know. But what I would say is that there's been very, very good juju.
Yeah.
You know, like the universe is being kind to us. It wants this to happen. And, you know, like Ollie referenced earlier, I met him because I was a fan of his work. And what's great about Ollie as a filmmaker is that he has a real love for the work, you know. So I was reading the comments and, you know, people would write so eloquently about how Oliver's retrospectives made them feel.
Right.
And it took them back to their childhood. It was like that sort of naive enthusiasm. You know, there's too many critics. I don't think Ollie's a critic. I think he has a love for the work. And that's why he's built his audience. And that's why they backed him to make this project. And that's rare. You know, this whole sort of global time warp we're in around 80s. You know, if you look at the political context we're in now, it's not a million miles away from Reaganomics and the Reagan era. You know, and so you can see why these tropes and these themes are starting to come back. And you know, I'm 40, Ollie's, you know, in his mid 30s. As we get older, I believe that these iconic cultural, you know, these things which have really mattered to us, I think they're going to become more important. Sure. They're going to become, you know, touchstones really that we'll refer to, and to be able to go back and capture, which may be one of the last times, because the guys who were around then who were making it, they're not going to be around forever. So like I feel like the gods of filmmaking want this to happen.
Right. No, for sure. It's like going to see the Rolling Stones now because you know they're going to be dead. You know, like actually, I don't know if those guys will ever die. If they haven't by now, it still shocks me that they're running around on stage.
How Keith Richards is still alive. I think he died in 1976, but he's just, you know, a zombie and just lives eternally forever.
I think it's what Bill Hicks used to say, didn't he, back in the early 90s?
Yeah.
So surprised he's still alive. You know.
So what is the ultimate dream scenario for you guys as not only filmmakers but as fans of this? Like, what is the ultimate thing that could happen while you're gathering these interviews and this footage and stuff? Like, is there a fanboy moment that you guys are going to have, or that you think could potentially happen?
That's okay. Ideally, you know, it would be amazing to speak to Arnold Schwarzenegger or Stallone, because those guys were the poster boys for the whole genre,
right?
You know. And, you know, you always, you know, these documentaries, that's always the dream thing, is hitting the A-listers of this, you know, who you really want to speak to. I mean, I want to speak to all these people, but it's like, get to that, the top of the tower. So that would be amazing, you know, to speak to him, even things like, you know, James Cameron, you know, because he was, you know, influential as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there's many people that the ones that you think of at that point in that decade, those are the ones, the big hitters, you know, I would love to speak to. And that would be a dream come true. You know, things, I mean, it could be a scenario where you meet that person and they don't quite give you the right answers you want. And you're like, oh no, it doesn't quite work.
We've had that happen.
Someone who's a supporting actor will give you amazing results. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's unpredictable, you know, but you have to make sure you give them the right questions so you get the right answers.
For sure. And hey, listen, guys, I know it's really late there, but it was something that was just mentioned by Robin 2 seconds ago, and Robin can take himself off mute if he wants to join in on this. If you guys don't want to do this, you don't have to, but we actually put together a game. What we like to do on the show a lot of times, we do these things called the Showdown, or we do trivia games and stuff. We put together a game of bad review trivia. So we went back to 80s and 90s action flicks, and we found not the good reviews, but we found all the bad reviews. And
awesome.
We've generalized these reviews so that, the audience can kind of play and you guys can play and try to figure out what they were. And what we'd like to do is kind of go round robin, Marc, myself, and Beau, and we'll spit these out and we'll try to guess what they are. We got a few of them. You guys down to play this?
Oh, 100%.
Sounds great.
Right.
Do it.
Fantastic. All right. So everybody that's listened to the podcast before knows how we run the Showdown. We're going to do it the same style. Round robin, Marc, Beau, and myself will go around. We'll take turns. We'll throw out these putrid reviews from 80s and 90s action movies that we love. If you know the right answer, don't announce it just yet, just for the audience sake and, for the other people that still have to answer. But we'll get started here. Marc, do you want to give the first go on one of yours?
Sure.
Right.
This movie was reviewed in the August 10th, 1984 edition of the Hartford Courant. And they said that this movie approximates the style of The Searchers and Apocalypse Now, but it is brainless and as naive as Conan the Barbarian.
Oh.
This came out in 1984.
I think I might know.
All right.
So we'll go Oliver, Robin, since you guys are guests. We'll go Oliver first, then Robin, then we'll go Beau, myself, and then Marc. All right. So Oliver, you're up.
I'm thinking Missing in Action.
Oh, so close. So close.
All right, Robin.
You're going to be disappointed. I'm just like, I can't think of. I think it's the Apocalypse Now reference.
You're close on that one.
That's what made me think of Missing in Action.
Right.
Well, okay, so that's Emma. Yeah, but like Apocalypse Now was jungle.
That's what's throwing me off.
Wait a minute. What year did Predator come out?
That's 87.
87, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit later. I thought so. 84. Ugh.
Final answer, Robin.
My final answer is going to be a pass.
Oh,
because...
all right. Don't worry, because you're going to not get showed up by Beau here. But what is going to be the answer to this 1984 gem?
Well, you know that I'm not knowledgeable when it comes to films on any scale, so I'm going to have to go with what I think this sounds the most similar to, and that is the 1994 Hulk Hogan classic, Thunder in Paradise 2.
Yes! You are not right.
Ooh. You got me with the Apocalypse thing. I don't know if this is going to be correct or not, but I'm going to go, since 1984, I'm going to go the Patrick Swayze Red Dawn.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it's Red Dawn.
Very nice.
John Milius also had his hand in Apocalypse Now and writing the script from that. So that's where they were drawing the comparison, but they said the movie was as brainless as Conan the Barbarian. I don't agree with it. I love Red Dawn.
I don't agree with that. No way.
No. That's all right. So I'll go second. This is kind of an easy one. I'll throw it out there. I think everybody will get this. This is a movie review out of the way of the LA Times, February 29th of 1988 by a guy named Leonard Claddy. And it says, the 4 most dreaded words that confront a film reviewer are based upon true events. The phrase is always a euphemism. In the case of blank, one can only suspect it means that if the filmmakers touched upon anything remotely true, it was quite unintentional. Now, because 90 minutes of fists and feet flying is bound to put an audience to sleep, there's also a love interest in the film.
Oh, I think I know.
Wait, there's one more passage. This might give it to you. Hacking through the jungle of cliche and reservoir of bad acting in blank, which is rated R for excessive violence and language, are some pretty exciting fighting scenes, and it all boils down to a confrontation between a clean-cut warrior and a snorting, pish, dirty fighter. Oliver, you are up.
Okay, I am going to go with Bloodsport.
All right, Oliver, in with Bloodsport. Robin.
All right. Okay. So I was going to say Bloodsport, but you've said it, Ollie. So I'm just going to say Kickboxer.
Oh, all right.
Okay, and I'll give you a little bit of insight into this. Today, we received a video message from David Worth, who was the director of Kickboxer, and EP on Bloodsport, who's going to be in our documentary, and he made a video message for us, just talking about how he was just giving. We're going to share it pretty soon. We're just waiting for a couple of others to come through, but just to sort of promote the documentary and to give us a couple of little gems, little tasters. And what he said in his little video was, I remember looking through the lens and seeing Jean-Claude Van Damme's bottom for that brief glimpse, and I knew we had a hit.
It was the dance scene.
Yeah, I've watched The Disaster Artist, but I don't think that's going to be a big hit either.
All right, Beau, you're up. What's your selection here?
Well, gentlemen, there's no question about it. This has got to be the 1994 classic Three Ninjas Kickback.
So they did a review for it 6 years prior. Good
it was
selection.
a long film to make.
All right, Marc.
Oh, man. See, I was going to go Bloodsport, and then I'm like, no, it's got to be Kickboxer. Well, both of those are off the board.
Oh, you could pick it. You could pick the same answer.
Man. Nah, see, I don't want to steal their thunder, so I'm going to go with my third choice, and that's Dudikoff. I got to go American Ninja 3.
Ooh, all right, well, Kickboxer was released in 1989, so that's out.
Yeah.
But it was a good plug for Robin. I see what he was doing there. Marc, you're not correct either. Oliver actually has this. It is Bloodsport.
Ah.
All right. Good one.
Excellent selection. All right, Beau, what do you got?
All right, this is let's see, I believe this is 1985. The review says, the movie's technical credits are below par. The production designer, among others, ought to be whipped.
Oh, God.
The POW camp is situated largely on a hillside, and the Vietnamese captors stand on platforms, haranguing prisoners far below them. This creates some of the most awkward camera angles in memory.
Gotta be a
I know this one.
All right, Oliver, you're up.
Oh, God. I was thinking like 85. It could be Rambo First Blood Part 2 because that got ravaged by the critics, but it could be actually Missing in Action 2, which came out in 85 as well. So, oh, God. See, I'm probably going to say Missing in Action 2 then. I'm going to go with that.
All right, Robin.
Rambo 2, isn't it?
I see what these guys are doing. Whenever one selects, the other one's going to pick the other answer. So somebody gets
exactly.
it right.
They figured it out.
We still win.
I'm going to go with Missing in Action as well. Missing in Action 2. And Marc.
I'm going to go Missing in Action 1.
All right.
Okay.
All bets are in.
All right.
The answer is Missing in Action 2, the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we're back to Marc. Score right now. I'm tired. Oh, actually, I have 2. Oliver, Oliver, you have 2 or 1?
I have 2.
Oh,
2.
And Missing in Action.
We are tied.
Yeah, tied, mate.
I think everybody else is just shitting the bed on this one. All right, so Marc, go ahead.
I didn't plan to keep the sheets clean tonight, fellas. I'm sorry.
So this question could serve as the ultimate tiebreaker between Mancrush and Oliver. So this movie, June of 1990, in the Times Leader, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, there was a review written about this great action film that came out. They did say that this movie that has close-up shots of surgical removal of a character's skull and then climaxes with the brain and spinal cord being smashed on the pavement. What could be more entertaining?
Ooh.
What movie is he talking about that came out in 1990?
All right, Oliver, you're up first.
Spinal cord.
I know this one.
It could be Predator 2, maybe. Oh, no, Robocop 2. Here we go.
Yes.
All right. Next guesses?
Wait. So Oliver, you went RoboCop 2. Robin, you went
Robocop
the same?
2.
Yeah, it's definitely Robocop 2.
All right, Beau.
Well, gentlemen, there's clearly no question on this one. This has to be Mannequin 2 on the Move, the Andrew McCarthy King Control joint.
It was Hollywood. He was smashed.
That's right. That's where they ripped out his spine and smashed it on the pavement in front of the store.
That's the extended cut, by the way.
It would have been a lot better. That did have Christy Swanson in it, though, which is right at... Oh, she was hot in that.
She's the real doll.
Man, they both went that direction. I'm going to go Predator 2.
Predator 2. All right. The correct answer is Robocop 2.
Oh.
Yeah. The spinal cord at the end where they smash his brain. It's great. So it's not the best reviews for Robocop 2.
Don't you think it's
Surprise,
amazing,
surprise.
right? Don't you think it's amazing that Robocop 2 was directed by the guy that did Empire Strikes Back?
It's so insane. Hey, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is something that was actually mentioned already in this episode. Not the most popular movie, so I don't expect everybody to get it, but somebody did mention this, all right? So this is out of the way of the LA Times once again from December 22nd, 1989. Michael Wilmington gave this glowing review that says, blank is a movie full of odd couples, and perhaps the oddest of all is the star, blank, and director, blank. However, its gaudy credits, it is one more and one of the worst written in an endless line of clenched up, crashed out, buddy LA cop star vehicles. The script by blank appears to have been written by a man under a death order not to include or even suggest an original notion. Blank begins with a Superman odd couple, the two heaviest LAPD cops who have oddly never met one another. But blank, rated R for violence, nudity, and language, is a waste of talent and energy on all levels. Unworthy of blank, and every superior technical credit on the film. There's a lot of blanks in that, but if you can come across that one, let's see if Oliver can get that.
I've got an idea,
yeah. I think it's probably Tango and Cash.
All right, Tango and Cash for Oliver.
Yeah, Tango and Cash.
Oh, you copycat.
Mate, it's unfair. The selection process is unfair. I'm being biased. Against. But yeah, my selection is Tango and Cash. It's also a reward tier on our Kickstarter campaign. So we've named all the reward tiers after like action movie stars. And so Tango and Cash is the reward tier if you want to just buy the direct digital download of our documentary.
Fubar.
What the hell is the Bloodsport tier?
There isn't a Bloodsport tier. There isn't a Bloodsport tier, but there is a Frank Dux. There is a Frank Dux tier.
That's where somebody lies to you for 4 hours and tells you a bullshit story. All right, Beau, what do you got?
Well, gentlemen, there's no question about this one. In his review of this film, Roger Ebert said, it's moronic beyond comprehension, an exercise in desperation during which even the star, a repository of self-confidence, seems to be disheartened, and that is, of course, the 1992 Sylvester Stallone joint Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Still getting kicked ass in that.
All right, Mark.
Well, see, I was thinking Tango and Cash at first, but you know what? I got to go 48 hours.
That was released in 1986.
Another 48 hours.
Jeez. All right, well, I got to give it to the Englishmen. They got it again. It is Tango and Cash.
Man.
I figured if I threw out an easy one. You guys did have the tier, like you said, and you did mention that earlier, but it was a good pickup.
Yeah, I remembered.
All right, so we're back to Beau.
All right. This came out in, I want to say this was 93. Can confirm. So let's see. It may well be the biggest big-budget summer clunker since 1991's Hudson Hawk. Pity the poor child who must turn to movie icons for parenting. This film jumps haphazardly between fantasy and reality in such a jumbled mess that even the actors can't seem to figure it out.
Oh, this is an easy one. So easy. This is Last Action Hero.
All right, Robin.
I want to pick something else just to be contrarian.
Jurassic Park.
But I can't think. What other movie from around that time mixes fantasy and action?
Pagemaster.
The Nanny. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mr. Nanny.
Okay, this is a true story. This is after we called the documentary to decide on the name In Search of the Last Action Heroes. I actually only watched Last Action Hero for the first time ever last week.
As did most people.
They just got it over there. It's a new release.
Yeah, we're a bit behind. I'm going to go with Last Action Hero myself as well, actually. So
that's to Mark.
Oh, man. I am so stumped on this one. I'm going to have to go with Lock Up. The Stallone film. I think it's Lockup. If you listen back to that description, I really think that's Lockup.
All right. Anyhow, so I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm pretty sure it's Last Action Hero. I liked Last Action Hero, and the fact that in America everyone viewed it as a colossal flop, but this movie actually did well. I remember doing this on one of our Dueling Decades. It actually did well worldwide. It made money, but it didn't make the money that they wanted.
I think
to
it was
make.
like it was a delayed release because obviously Arnold was scared about it going face to face with Jurassic Park.
It didn't do well in America, though. I remember that. I went to opening weekend of this. I was a freshman in high school when this came out. It was towards the end of our freshman year, and it came out in the summertime, I believe, like June. So I'm going to stick with Last Action Hero.
All right. Well, the answer is actually My Girl 2. No, it is Last Action Hero.
Oh God,
you are correct.
Fucking hell.
Oh, fucking. All right,
Now,
Mark.
someone who just watched Last Action Hero for the very first time, we were just talking about this a few episodes back. It's rare nowadays to be able to watch a movie and get that genuine first-time reaction to watching something. And to hear somebody's first-time reaction, that's why we go to sites like newspapers.com and we read up the original reviews when they came out, like what we're doing now. What is your first impression of Last Action Hero?
Wow. What was my first impression?
That was good.
Wow, that good. You know what?
He's
Oddly
speechless.
enough, that was my first impression.
It actually had a lot of
You
redeeming
know what?
moments.
It was weird, right? Because I'd heard so much about it, so I knew certain scenes were going to happen. And when they happened, I was like, oh. And so one of the comments on Ollie's YouTube channel to one of the updates we made was a reference to Last Action Heroes. And when I first read the comment, I thought the comment was trying to be derogatory. And it's only when I remember the bit. It's when Arnie's doing the sort of Shakespeare bit in the castle.
Oh God!
He's saying to be or not to be, and he goes not to be. But when I read it on the YouTube, Ollie's YouTube page, I thought, oh, are you dissing the project we're trying to run? I didn't realize it was a clever reference. Quite honestly, like I want to say, oh, you know what? It was amazing. It was the best film, and I didn't feel that way. There are certain films and it's like the top 4. It's your Predator, your Commando, your Terminator, Robocop. There's something about those movies which are they go beyond nostalgia. They have this sort of eternal. There's something about them which has stood the test of time. Aliens, you could put that in. I think it's a combination of in-camera effects, incredible direction, and layers in terms of just the concepts going on. And for me, Last Action Hero, the movie, didn't quite have that. And that's why my sort of, me sort of answering your question, there's a period in the 80s where some movies were being made that are eternal, right? And they set up the genre, they set up the tropes, and even now, 30 plus years on, they are standalone solid films. In 2 weeks' time, some of the guys that are working with Ollie, we're all going to go and see a double bill of Predator 1 and Predator 2.
Right.
And, Predator 2 is a bit of a guilty pleasure, but the original Predator is just,
iconic.
It's one of these timeless pieces of work that as we get older, as we age, as all these new forms of entertainment, we can look back on it and we can actually say, do you know what? It's still like a Mona Lisa. It's still like that level good. And Last Action Hero wasn't, but I'm not taking anything away from it. It's just that I was even myself, I was kind of bundling it into classics of this era. For me, it wasn't a classic. It wasn't the same level as the other films I've just mentioned. And that wasn't a criticism of it. It's just those films are just a little bit special.
You know what it is with Last Action Hero? I don't want to get too far away from the game real quick, but this will be fast. It's the beginning of the end for the genre, because this is where they try to take that over-the-top R-rated guy in Arnold and put them in a PG-13 movie to make a lot of money. And all the people that were watching the Predators and the Commandos and Terminator, now they were like, well, what is this shit? Like, why are you putting out a kids movie?
Right. That's where they took a basic action movie and tried to turn it into a blockbuster by making all of it over the top.
Right.
Oh,
and not the arm wrestling movie, which would have been awesome. But,
that would have been way awesome.
God.
But go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
All right. So this movie was reviewed in the October 4th, 1991 issue of the Tampa Bay Times in St. Petersburg, Florida. And they said, blank should go down in the annals of Z-grade filmmaking as one of the funniest kiddie movies ever made. It's so bad it's good. No joke is too corny. No sight gag is too obvious. No cliche is too hackened for this spoof of 40s Buck Rogers serials and 50s space adventures.
Anals.
What year did you say?
God.
1991.
I think that. Oh, you.
91. Mark went with a fucking hard one.
Oh my God.
He pulled it out of the anals.
I had to reach deep inside of the anals to get this one.
Oh, man. You get fissures doing that.
Yes, you can.
Is it, oh, what was it? There was a sort of aliens from outer space thing. What was that? Oh, no. I can't think. I can't think of that. I don't know.
All right, Robin?
Yeah, man. I don't know.
He just straight skipped him. He's like, oh, Robin, you're up.
Right. I'm trying to cheat here on my phone, and it's the reception isn't very good.
Serves you right for cheating. Come on, man.
I really don't know. Like the Buck Rogers thing threw me.
I only have I have a guess, but I don't know if it's even close. Actually, I'm sure Beau's going to get this. He's been on so far. He's got 0 points, but this is it. It's turning around for him right here.
Flip back.
Well, gentlemen, there's no question about it. This is clearly, and a lot of people don't realize this, directed by Henry Winkler, the blockbuster film Cop and a Half.
Ooh.
Starring Burt Reynolds.
Could be. It very well could be.
No, it is.
I could scratch that one off my list. That's not it. All right. So the only one that I could think of is the really shitty movie, The Rocketeer.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Ooh.
No, it's going to be in it.
Because I'm thinking of like the 40s and 50s. Nah, that's why I don't.
It is not. Yeah.
I didn't think it was it either.
Yeah, it is not The Rocketeer.
All right.
I'll tell you what it is, though. It is Commando.
Ooh.
Not Arnold Schwarzenegger Commando. This is Suburban Commando from 1991, starring Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
So good. Wasn't there a boat chase in that movie?
I think
You're
there were
thinking
several
of
of
Thunder
them.
Bay. Or what was that show he had? Was it called Thunder Bay?
It was Thunder something, wasn't it?
Thunder Down Under. No, wait, that's something totally different.
Yeah. Damn, you got me with that one. I for sure thought it was Rocketeer, but you said the
It's Thunder in Paradise, by the way.
Thunder in Paradise.
Thunder in Paradise.
All right.
Yeah. God.
All right, since you're going hard, I'm gonna turn it up a little notch here. This is a movie that we actually played at. We have this thing called Schlock and Awe that we do every couple months. We do like a whole marathon of movies, and this was in the one that we did, I believe, earlier this year. We did Action Saturday, and this was part of Action Saturday. And this review is from 1991. It's November 26, 1991, out of a paper called The Deseret News from a guy named Chris Hicks. And it says, blank is so dumb, it makes the Hitman look like Oscar material. And sleepy-eyed blank makes Chuck Norris look positively lively. To call this one over the top is to understate it majorly, as blank is such a super cop, he is able to leap over a car as it races towards him without even skidding on the roof. Blank's beat is Little Tokyo section of Los Angeles, where he is reluctantly teamed with blank.
I know.
The gimmick here
this one.
is that blank is an American who was raised in Japan, while blank is a Japanese American who's never been out of the valley. Naturally, this provides fodder for lame ethnic jokes. And in every other scene, there are several unclothed women whose duties seem to be little more than standing around. I kept wondering if they were rather chilly. Blank is one of the more offensive films in this genre this year, right down there with Brian Bosworth's Stone Cold.
Well, there's a big clue in there with Tokyo, so it's got to be Showdown in Little Tokyo.
All right,
Well,
Robin.
that's the correct answer, right? But I just want to plug a retrospective that Ollie did about a month ago, just before we started the Kickstarter. I think it was the last retrospective you did. So Ollie actually did a retrospective on Showdown in Little Tokyo, which you should check out on YouTube. It's really good. But that film is famous for like the worst, like, stupid line where Brandon Lee is talking about how well hung Dolph Lundgren is.
Oh yeah. You have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
A situation with my mates where I've gone, you know what? I mean, I like to compliment people.
Wasn't it like something like, if I was her, I'd be scared too. I seen you naked in the hot tub, and you have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man. Oh my God. All right, well, obviously that's the answer. Beau, what do you think with this one?
Well, gentlemen, no question about it. This was directed by Oscar winner Sidney Poitier. It's the 1990 classic Ghost Dad. A brilliant piece of cinema.
And on to Marc.
So did you say that the answer was Showdown in Little Tokyo?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
What do you think the answer is?
All right, because that's totally not what I thought it was. Going on your description, 2 cops, Tokyo. This had to be the 1989 mega hit Collision Course with Jay Leno and Pat Morita.
Man, it could have been, man, but no. Unfortunately, Oliver started it off. He is correct. I threw that one out there. I did see the retrospectives, so that is right. It is Showdown in Little Tokyo. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go check that one out. I don't know if you guys have any reviews left. I have one last one left. It's very generic, and I think it might be hard or it might be extremely easy because there's really no detail in this one, but it's from January 1st, 1982. It's from Roger Ebert, and he says, "You will have noticed that I've given no stars for blank, starring blank. A word of explanation. In my movie rating system, the most a movie can get is 4 stars. My Dinner with Andre, the least a movie can get is half star. The Beast Within got a whole star. That's close. I award no stars only to movies that are artistically inept and morally repugnant. So blank joins such unsavory company as Penitentiary 2 and I Spit on Your Grave. And in that, in a way, is a shame. Because I have certain admiration for blank in the movie."
God.
Wow. That's a great review. I got to see this film.
If you want a little bit more, I can give you a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more. Go on.
Is it as complimentary as what we heard before?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so it's the next portion. It says, what's most shocking about blank is the lack of artistry and lack of and skill in general in filmmaking. The movie is underwritten and desperately underplotted so that its witless action scenes alternate with lobotomized dialogue passages. The movie doesn't contain an ounce of life. It slinks on the screen and squirms for a while, and it's over.
God, 1982, an action movie. I know it's difficult with Roger Ebert because he didn't like Blade Runner when it came out, and then reevaluated it with a higher score. I don't know. Could it be Conan the Barbarian?
Well, he said repugnant. It's repugnant. It's got 0 stars. He put it on the same level as Penitentiary 2 and I Spit on Your Grave.
Wow.
God, I'm stumped, man.
This is another Schlock and Awe movie, by the way. This was on, I can't say what the name of the Schlock and Awe marathon we had was because it would totally give it away.
Is it Piranha 2 or something? I don't know.
All right. Are you going with Piranha 2?
Let's go with Piranha 2.
All right. He's going with Piranha 2. It is a sequel. So you might be right. All right, Robin. This is for all the marbles. All the marbles, Robin. No pressure here.
Well, you said it's a sequel.
He's like, come on, phone, get service. Get service.
I'm just like, come on, man. No,
phone a friend.
Okay. I'm torn. Okay, I think, is it Rocky? Rocky 3.
Okay, we're going with Rocky 3. That's one of, I don't like Rocky 3 as much as I like the rest of them, but I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say it's repugnant.
That's really strong word.
I mean, Mr. T wasn't that bad, for Christ's sake.
Well,
I think I know what it is now.
It
Okay,
is
I can't say anything now. Damn.
All right.
Okay, so
Beau.
1982.
1982.
Okay, so Annie came out in 1982, but I know it's not that. There are some repugnant elements to it, though. Yeah. Ooh, yikes. Okay, 1982, repugnant. Well, gentlemen, I think it's an obvious choice. It's the American drama film directed by Alan J. Pakula, Sophie's Choice.
That movie was repugnant.
What action is in Sophie's Choice?
Yeah, not the type of action you want.
Yeah. All right, Sophie's Choice, Beau goes with, and Marc for the final answer. This is it. It all boils down to this.
See, I'm going to throw you a bone here, Marc. The clue is, I think it is, it's a canon movie from 82.
All right. I'll be a gentleman here, and I will give my spot to you to go ahead and make the pick now that you thought of it. Go ahead. Just say it.
I think it's Death Wish 2.
That's it.
That is
Wish
it.
2.
Death Wish 2.
That was movie
Very
number
nice.
3
Nice.
in Schlock and Awe Canon Saturday, which we held in May, and that was Death Wish 2. Yeah, it's got a. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. We played Death Wish 2 we played last year. Death Wish 3 we just played at Canon Saturday.
That's a great film.
Which is even more repugnant if you want to use that movie, because not only does his daughter get raped for the second time, but then she jumps out of a fucking window onto a fence post. Yeah, and Alex Winter's in it. How could you beat that?
Exactly.
Hey, thanks for playing that with us, guys. And again, thanks for coming on so late. We really appreciate it. Before you go, give everybody the link to everything. Obviously, you can't give the gigantic Kickstarter link, but whatever, people can go and find it and find this Kickstarter and hit it up.
Yeah. I mean, if you just go on to Kickstarter and put in search The Last Action Heroes, you'll find it very easily. And it's and Kickstarter, thankfully, put it as one of the projects they love as well. So it makes it easier to find. And you can find my stuff on YouTube by just putting in Oliver Harper, and you'll find a wealth of videos.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. And again, now go to bed.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having us. And it's been a real pleasure and totally worth staying up for.
Definitely, it's been a great evening, and it's been great talking to you guys. And I look forward to listening to more of your content.
Thank you. All right, so unfortunately, fellow poopers, that's where we're going to have to end the fun. I want to thank Oliver Harper and Robin Block for coming on the show this week. Make sure you check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Poop Culture Podcast, also on Twitter at Poop Culture, and of course on the website, www.poopculture.com, where you can listen to all the back episodes as well as subscribe so you don't miss any of the new ones. So until next time, fellow poopers, we're going to bid you a peace, love, light, and a joy. Have a great week, everybody.
Infirmary Media.